Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite brushes. You guys have been requesting for this video for a while now. I have been putting it off just because I did film a video like this, I would say almost 2 years ago. And for the most part, most of the brushes are exactly the same. I've been using the same kind of brushes for the past couple of years now. But I realized that I do have some new additions to my little brush family, and they have become like, you know, part of my everyday staple. So here is my updated favorite brushes, 2019 edition. I'm going to explain the purpose of each brush, so this is going to be a very long video, I can tell. So if you guys are interested in hearing about my favorite brushes, then just continue watching. So before we get started, I just want to throw out some disclaimers. First things first, you do not need to have this many brushes to complete a face, okay? These brushes I have been collecting ever since I started makeup, so it's been like 5-6 years that I've had some of these brushes, and it just grew over time. So I'm not saying that you need to go out and buy everything right now to create a good eye look, because you just need a couple of good brushes and you're probably good to go. So I don't want you guys to feel like you need everything in this video. I'm just sharing with you what I use and what I've bought in the past couple of years that I just love. Also, I want to mention that I do have affiliate codes with some of these brands. I do have quite a variety of brushes, but 4 or 5 main brands that I have are ColourPop, Sigma, Vanity Planet, Makeup Collective, and I would say Real Techniques. So with ColourPop, I do have a code, but that's not an affiliate code. You can use my code and you'll save $5 off at ColourPop. I have an affiliate code with Vanity Planet. So the thing with Vanity Planet, the brushes that I use actually come in a brush set. I don't use every single brush in that brush set, but because Vanity Planet, the discount code is so big, you get 70% off, that it's like kind of worth to just get the whole brush set even if you don't use some of the brushes in there. I have an affiliate code with Sigma as well. So Sigma is like 10% off. Sigma's, in my opinion, a little bit more pricey. So I just want to like throw it out there that I do have codes for some of these brushes. Also, Makeup Collective, I think, is a New Zealand brand. I used Makeup Collective when I went to the makeup school, which is kind of like a makeup academy where you get your certificate to become like an official freelance makeup artist or whatever. That's where I got Makeup Collective. I don't know if you can buy it online or where you can buy it around the world. I'm not too sure. And then there's Morphe, which there are so many affiliate codes out on YouTube. You can use Kathleen, Jackie Eyeliner, Nikki Tutorials. There's so many great YouTubers that have an affiliate code with Morphe. So I would say for the most part, everything here that I'm going to mention, you probably can save some money on. But just because I have a code with them does not mean I am like purposely trying to use their brushes. I just genuinely love their brushes, and if you watch my videos you would see that I use these brushes like over and over again. I don't really have that many brushes. I like to stick to the brushes that I know and love. Anyway, I've been blabbering, let's just talk about the brushes. I'm gonna start off with the brushes that I actually used on my face today. So my base and my eye look. So I'm gonna go in order of the way I do my makeup. That way it's a little bit easier for me to talk about. And for the brushes that I didn't get to use on my face today that are favorites, we will talk about at the end. Okay, so let's start off with foundation brushes. I would say 80% of the time I will use my beauty sponge, which is from Real Techniques, to blend in my foundation. But there are some days where I just want to use a brush. And I have 2 foundation brushes that I go to. You can see both of them are dirty. So this one is from Sigma. This is their flat kabuki F80 brush. This brush is very dense and it is flat, so it's really gonna press in the foundation while still blending it out, and it's gonna really give you that fuller coverage because it's really gonna press in that pigmentation and really give you a fuller coverage. Usually when I use a sponge, it gives me less coverage because I feel like the sponge is kind of absorbing the product a little, but this is literally just pressing it in, so you are getting the maximum coverage out of that foundation you are using. If you want something a little bit more affordable, this is the e.l.f. foundation blurring brush. It's a bit more domed. I wouldn't say it's as compact as the Sigma one, but it does the job. It's very soft and very affordable, and the quality of this is really, really good. So yeah, I have 2 foundation brushes. I go between the 2. It's just depending what I feel like that day, honestly. And then the next brush is the ColourPop large powder brush. I don't really think I need to explain this guy, but obviously I just use this to set the rest of my face. So I will use my beauty sponge for my concealer and my loose powder, and then for my pressed powder to set the rest of my face, I will go around my face using this brush, just packing on the color. I just like this brush because it's very soft. I don't have another large powder brush in my collection that's this soft, so I'm just using this guy and it works. So now moving on to my eyebrows. So my eyebrows are not like my favorite part of my makeup routine, and you know, most of the time I don't really like how my brows look just because it's so hard to get even and I don't have a lot of hair, so it's like very patchy sometimes. You know, I'm just not really good at brows. But for the brushes that I do use, my brow powder, I use this brush. This is the same eyebrow brush that I use ever since I started putting my eyebrows on. Ever since high school, this brush is the same brush since high school. I know we sell this brand in New Zealand, it's in Farmers. I don't think this is an international brand. I think it's called like Artiste or something. They definitely have vamped up their brand obviously over the past couple of years. So I don't think they have this exact brush, but I'm sure they have an angled brush. You guys don't really need to care about this brush, okay? So then I have this brush from Vanity Planet. This is the angled precision brush. Like I mentioned before, this comes in the set, so I don't think you can buy these individually. But I like using this guy to clean up my eyebrows, so I'll take some concealer on this and I will just use this to clean up the tail of my eyebrows. It is like another angled brush, but you can see it's just a little bit different. This one is a lot wider and it's super thin and it's a little bit flexible, which gives me a bit more control in a way to kind of carve out my brow. I just like the angle of it. Now we move on to eye brushes, which is probably the most brushes that I own. I'm going to talk about the brushes that I use today, and today specifically I did the technique that uses the most brushes, which is a cut crease halo eye. This requires so many brushes. I just wanted to do an eye look that I could showcase most of the brushes that I use in my everyday routine or any eye look. The first brush is the Makeup Collective number 16 brush. I use this brush to set down my eye base. I'll just go in with a matte white powder and just dust this all over my lid. It's very fluffy, that's why I like it for this specific purpose, and that's all I use this brush for. Like, I just use this brush to set down my eye base because it's just so fluffy. It's very quick because it's so large, it's covering a lot of space. Then we have the ColourPop tapered blending brush. I use this brush every single day, okay? I don't know why I only have one of them. Probably should buy another one. So this is the brush that I always go in first using my transition shadow. So I'll just put this straight into my crease. It really blends the color out, really packs it on, and for a synthetic brush, it's kind of surprising to me because usually I would use more of like a natural hair brush, but this really packs on the color really nicely. I like the shape of it. It just blends out my transition shadow very, very easily. So I've been liking it, been using it. This is the first brush that I go in with all the time. And then the next brush that I usually go in with next is the Morphe M433. Now this guy is a brush that you should have multiple of. I feel like the ColourPop tapered blending brush, this brush as well, it really packs on the color, but then you can pack it on and then you can blend it out, and it just works amazingly. It's really great for just blending out the outer corner. That's what I always use it for. Anytime I do my makeup, my eye makeup, I'm always using this brush as well. Next, I have the Sigma E30 brush. This is their pencil brush. I like to use this on a look like this where I am going into the inner part of my crease, so like a halo eye. I need to go into that inner corner because of the way like my eyes fold. I need to like go under the tucks. I'll use this to smudge out my liner. There's a lot of purpose for a pencil brush, so I would highly recommend you get a pencil brush. I actually have two that I'm going to mention, but this one is a lot more dense, so it's gonna pack on a little bit more color, but the tip is really nice to really get into those inner corners. I then have my Sigma E55 brush, which is the brush that I like to use on my lower lash line, just really smoking out that lower lash, just packing on color there. This is the first brush that I'll go in on my lower lash line. I like the curve of it. It's very soft and it just really blends out the color very nicely. Next, I have my Morphe M506 brush. I think this is like another popular brush from Morphe as well, but it pretty much is just like a blending brush, but like a tiny baby version of it. If you need a brush to do some detailed blending, like if you're doing a cut crease, this is really great to go in with. Again, packs on the color with blending it out at the same time, and it's a really great brush. Another brush that I feel like you should have multiple of as well. But today I use this at my outer third just to blend out that color, to really deepen up the look. Here is my other pencil brush. This is the Makeup Collective number 10 brush. This one's a little bit more flexible, I would say. It's not as dense as the Sigma one. It's a little bit more flimsy. You can do more blending out with that. And what I also like to do with this brush as well, if I'm doing a cut crease, once I've cut my crease and once I've done some detailed work there, I'll take this brush upside down and I will blend out the edge of the cut crease, because the tip of the pencil brush is where where the most product is, when you are lining it along the cut crease area, it's going to pack on the color there but still blend it out because it's a bigger brush. If that makes any sense, I feel like it's better to see what I'm doing than me like trying to explain, but that is the purpose that I have for the Makeup Collective number 10 brush. I then have the Makeup Collective number 7 brush. This is just like a flat shader brush. This is the brush that I use to press up against my lower lash line to really define. Because it's just straight cut, I can really go around my eyes and just really push that shadow up against my waterline. Then I have my Vanity Planet Small Cream Shadow Brush. This is the brush that I use initially to cut out my crease to get the basic shape there. Today I would just put that straight on to the center of my lid. I'll bring it up towards my crease. The reason why I like this, guys, is just because it's so tiny. I feel like not many brands have very tiny brushes, and when you have a small lid space, it's like, of course you need a smaller brush. Like, I don't get how people can go in with a brush like this big ass brush, and go cut their crease with it. It's not practical, you know what I mean? Like, if you have smaller lids, use smaller brushes, because in my opinion, I feel like that's easier and it will help you out. This is the brush that I like to use. I just like it because it's very tiny. The shape of it is very curved, so it does go around the shape of my lid if I'm cutting out my crease. All these brushes here, you can use it for different things, okay? You just don't have to use it for what I'm saying that I'm using it for. It's just how I personally use it. The next two brushes are actually paint brushes. So I have this one here. I don't know the brand. What it says on the actual brush, wherever you live, I'm sure you have a craft store that sells paint brushes that you can go buy. This one is just super tiny, so fine and detailed. What I use this for is to really sharpen out my cut creases. So I'll go in with that Vanity Planet brush first to get the basic shape, and then I'll go in with this brush, take some concealer, and really just go around the edge of my eye and really cut out the crease. Because it's so fine and thin, it's really gonna make the cut crease very sharp, and because it has some flexibility to it, it's really just gonna drag along your eye very nicely, give you that cut crease that you need. So, you know, paint brushes are great. My next paintbrush is from Mix. That's what it says on it. It's their angled spot detailer. But yeah, this one again, a very tiny brush. What I like to use this for, it's a very specific reason that I use these brushes for, you know what I mean? Like, I have no other purpose for these brushes but for this specific step. So if I'm gonna do a cut crease and I feel like my cut crease is not popping out enough, I will go in with the tiniest bit of like the darkest shadow that I use, and I will go along that crease line just to deepen up a little bit. So I'll go in with this, with that initial line, and if that line looks a bit harsh, like I mentioned earlier, I'll go in with the Makeup Collector number 10 brush, tip it upside down and blend out that harsh line. And it just makes your cut crease pop out even more because you are contrasting it against a dark shadow. I feel like this guy is very handy. I like how it's on an angle, so you can just literally like go bloop, bloop, bloop. Like, you can hold it straight because it's on an angle, like so easy. Moving along, we have the Makeup Collective number 18 brush. This is just pretty much like a standard shader brush. Is that what you call it? I just like to use this one because of the shape. It is very narrow. I just use this guy with this brush, put any metallic on top of my cut creases. If I'm not doing a cut crease, that's fine too. Just pack it on. Because of the shape and it is very dense, it is really gonna pack on the color where you want it to go. And like I mentioned earlier, because we have a smaller eyes, we want to use smaller brushes. So sometimes this guy can be too big to like just get all over my cut crease. So I'll go in with the Makeup Collective number 4 brush, which is actually a lip brush, which you also can use it for, but I like to use this guy to go up against that cut crease line. If I were to go over the crease line, it's just going to defeat the whole purpose of the cut crease. You only want the metallic shadow on the concealer where you cut it out, you know what I mean? So I take this brush and go up against that cut crease line, and does a great job of really packing on that color. Because it's so small, the curve of it really goes along with that cut crease line, you know what I mean? So it's helping you out here. Now I have the Sigma blending brush. This is the E25. For today's look, I use this to kind of blend out the halo eye around the edges so it can blend into the matte. It's just a really great way to pack on the color while blending it out. I feel like a lot of the brushes that I have pack on the color and blend it out at the same time, because obviously that's what you want on a brush. But yeah, I just use this today to just diffuse out the edges of the metallic shadow. Another way I would use this is if I'm just going like a daytime look, a very natural look, I'll take a matte shadow, use this, and just pack it on my lid and then just blend it out towards my crease. That will help you with it. It's a very special shape of a brush. I would recommend it. I feel like it's a great staple to have as well. I find myself using this brush quite often. Next, I have the Morphe MB45 brush. I typically use this brush just to blend out the edges with no products on it and just, you know what I mean. Time for my eyeliner brushes. I have two here. First one is the Makeup Geek bent eyeliner brush. If you guys know me well, I like to use gel liner for my wings. I barely use anything else. Like sometimes I'll use a liquid liner, but for the most part, like 95% of the time, I will use my Inglot gel liner. So this is the brush that I use it with. I've had this brush for 5 years now. Yeah, probably 5 years at this point, and it's just been doing me good. I like the little angle that it has. I like the tip of it. I mean, I've had it for so long. It's $8 and it's still going good. My next brush is the Makeup Collective #2 brush, which you probably could use for eyeliner as well or lining your lips. But I use this to tightline my upper lash line with my gel liner. So literally I'll just go into my gel liner, look down, well, tilt my head up and look down. And then I'll just use this to tightline my waterline, my upper waterline with this brush. I mean, it is quite pointy, but when you put it onto the side, it's actually quite soft and smooth. I have this brush from Sephora. It actually came in this lip palette that they had years and years ago. And I like this brush a lot. It's dual-ended, it's the same thing on each side. But I will use this to highlight my brow bone and inner corner. I just like the shape of it. It's very narrow, very rounded. I think it's really great to highlight the brow bone and inner corner. I'll use this for my lip products as well. I just like how it's dual-ended. So like in my everyday life, I will use one side for my highlight, the other end to put on my lipstick, and then I just have to wash the one brush on its own. I mean, you can't really buy this brush, but you know, I'm just sharing with you what I have. We have another Princeton brush, the paintbrush brand. This is just called Round. When I put my lashes on, I want to hide the glue. This is the brush that I will use. Again, very thin, very flexible, so I can just go and then my lash glue is hidden, lashes are on. So this is the brush that I use for that very specific purpose, but that's just me. Alright, so those are all the brushes that I use on my eye look today. I have a couple of brushes that I didn't get to use today, but I do use quite frequently. So the first one I have is the Morphe M573. It's kind of like a brush that I use to also blend out the edges. Like I'll use it clean and just blend out the edges around the corners. I'll also use this like in my outer third as well to blend that out. It's just very fluffy. The shape of it is very nice, very domed and circular. So it's just really great. Like I think this is another bestseller as well. So I have a Makeup Collective brush. This is the #5. This is just an angled brush, but it's a lot shorter and stiffer. So there's a lot of purposes for this brush. I will use this on my lower lash line just to define that outer corner because it is on an angle. I feel like on the outer corner it really gets it in there. If I'm gonna do a smoky wing, I'll use this to blend that out. There's just a lot of purpose for a good angled liner. You can definitely use this for your brows. You can use this to carve out your brows. I mean, different angle brushes, like I think I just showed you like 3 angle brushes in total, so. I have another one from Sigma. This is the short shader brush E20. Like I mentioned earlier, I use the E55 to really smoke out this guy, but when I want a lower lash line that's very dark and intense and not as smoky and diffuse, I will go in with the Sigma one because it's much shorter and this one is very dense. So it's really just gonna pack on that color and make it very precise. And then I have these ones from ColourPop. So I have the large shader brush, the small shader brush, and the blending brush. The 2 shader brushes, obviously they are exactly the same thing, but one's bigger, one's smaller. I think it is good to have a big shader brush. You can use this for concealer as well and pat that out. You can use this on your lid as well. Like I do use this, but not as often, but I wanted to mention it anyway. The smaller one is great to cut creases, metallic shadows, great for that. And then we have the ColourPop blending brush. If you want to diffuse out like a metallic shadow, you don't want something to be very precise like a cut crease, you just want to blend it out, make it very soft and diffuse, this is the brush for it. I love this guy so much. I use it all the time. So I'll put this in my inner corner around my crease, just blend it out, and the metallic shadows, it's just blown out, diffuse, and for the price, it's great. You know, the shape of it is really nice as well. Now we move back on to the face. For my bronzer, I always use the Sigma F40 brush. I think this is the F40. I've had these brushes for so long that the names have rubbed off. It's just like a fluffy face angled brush. I just like to use this to bronze up my skin. I mean, it's pretty standard. A lot of brands have this, but this is the one that I just been using. For my nose contour, I actually like to use the Makeup Collective number 11 brush. It is very flat, but it's still fluffy, so it will still put on that nose contour but blend it out at the same time. I used to use the Makeup Collective number 11 brush a lot for my lower lash line, but then I switched to the Sigma one just because it was softer on the eyes. I found a new purpose for it, which is for my nose contour. For my blush, I use the Real Techniques blush brush, and for my highlight, I use the Real Techniques setting brush. Again, just very standard. I don't know what else I can really say. A good brush to put on blush because I have, I would say, pretty big cheekbones, so it really just hugs on the cheekbones, just blends that out. And for the setting brush, I don't know, I think the shape of this is really nice. I haven't really found another highlighting brush that I like as much as this one. I just think the shape of it is really good for my face. Alright, so I have a bunch of lip brushes that I use for my lip color, and I also use it to highlight my brow bone and inner corners. If I'm doing a look and the review has lip colors that I need to swatch, like multiple, these are the brushes that I use. I have the Vanity Planet rounded liner brush, great for highlighting the inner corners on the lips as well. This is the Sigma E05. This is the Vanity Planet lip liner brush with the cap, and this is the Real Techniques retractable lip brush. All of these you can use to highlight your brow bone and inner corners and use it on your lips as well. Okay, we are finally coming to an end for this video. I have 3 brushes left. These are kind of like my extra brushes. I do use them, but I don't feel like it's not really necessary, I guess. So okay, the first one is the Vanity Planet liquid foundation brush. So I use this brush, I wouldn't say for makeup, but I use this brush for my mask. So if there's a mask that's in a tub, I don't like to use my fingers and apply it. I'll use this brush and apply it. It's just very thin, it's very soft, and it just applies it very, very nicely, very easily. I mean, you can get a lot of these brushes anywhere, but I mean, if you want to get the brush set from Vanity Planet, this is a really good brush for like skincare even for moisturizer. If you're a freelance makeup artist, you can use this for moisturizer, for primer. The other 2 are from Colourpop. I don't know the name of this guy, but I'll put it on the screen. It's a nice highlighting brush as well, or like under eye setting brush. If you're comparing it to the Real Techniques one, this one is a lot bigger, more wider, and not as tapered. And then I just have Colourpop's fan brush. A lot of brands have fan brushes. From Vanity Planet, there's a fan brush in there as well, but I actually use that brush to clean out Harry's shaver. Like, you know the shaver, how it has like the claws? I use it to clean between the claws. So I use this one for my face. If I have fallout on my face, I'll just take this fan brush and be like... Alright guys, so those were all of my brushes. These are the brushes that I use the most often. They are on my top vanity table. I keep them there. I reach for them a lot. You can probably tell they are really beat up. A lot of them don't even have the names on them anymore, and you've probably seen them a lot in my videos as well. I hope you guys found this helpful. I did feel like I was kind of going through them pretty quickly, but there were just so many brushes that I need to talk about. I feel like it's better to see how I use it rather than me trying to explain how I use it. So regardless, I still hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up for me. I would appreciate it so much if you did. Comment down below your favorite brush brand. I really want to try out, is it Smith Cosmetics? Smith brushes? Yeah, Smith brushes, but they're really expensive. I also want to try out Makeup Shack, but I don't think they ship internationally. I think BH has a lot of good ones. That is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! I don't know.